Your number one priority should be having a good attitude. Now, this can be your most potent weapon in this field. If you show an eagerness to work hard, a willingness to learn, and also a strong work ethic, it'll set you up for a very good future. I've managed to get to a lot of places at a much younger age than I should have, purely because I had a strong work ethic and a good attitude to learning. Number two would be live and breathe news. A lot of your lecturers have probably already told you this, and it is true. You need to live and breathe the news cycle. And if you aren't enjoying immersing yourself in that, then this probably isn't the career for you. And while you do need to listen, watch and read a lot of this in your own time, make sure that you're smart about it. Only listen to the news that you need to, but make sure that you are watching and listening to a broad spectrum of different types of newses, because we do need to make sure that we're keeping across the views of all audience members, not just ones that are specifically drawn to the organisation that we are working for. We used to do news quizzes when I was at university on a weekly basis, and this was a great way of making sure that you're keeping across the news of the week. Network, network and network. This is the oldest trick in the book, but it is the most important. Make sure that you're getting out there and meeting the decision makers, the politicians, the interest groups, the business people, but also make sure that you're also keeping across what real people think. That is the Joe Blogs on the side of the street who can give you an insight into what the public thinks and feels about what's currently going on in society. I always like to use the analogy of the taxi driver, for instance. Having a chat to him on your next journey, he can give you a great insight into what people are thinking and feeling purely from the number of passengers that he transports every day. And when making these contacts, make sure that you don't expect them to give you the first big scoop on your first coffee date. Make sure that you over time build up trust and a rapport with your contacts to be able to make sure that that relationship has longevity. Number two, make sure that when you're trying to organise interviewees for your stories that you pick up the phone. I've witnessed far too many young journalists email people to try and organise interviews and then be shocked when they don't get any sort of response. That's because people don't respond well to email communication. Make sure that you pick up the phone, have a chat to them, have a yarn and discuss with them what you'd like them to do or where you see them placing in your story. It is invaluable having that conversation. Be specialised. Make sure that you take a minor in another subject that potentially will help you down the track, be it economics, be it business reporting or politics. I moved into being a business reporter fairly early on in my career, and it would have been a huge help to me if I had studied a minor in business or finance reporting when at university, because I could have focused more of my time on just the storytelling, whereas I wasted a lot of my time on just purely trying to understand what I was reporting. So I'd highly recommend looking at trying to move into the field already with some sort of specialised expertise under your belt. I've noticed and witnessed over the length of my career already that these types of journalists are in high demand, and that's because if you're an expert in your field, you're most likely to have a network of contacts, and then you're most likely to get exclusive and original story content. And this is never more important than in this day and age of a very highly competitive media environment. Have an extra skill. Don't just be a journo. Unfortunately, we're a dying trade, or the ones that choose to only do one platform appear to be a dying trade. I entered the workforce as a multi-platform reporter, so I've only ever done radio, television and digital news content. Gone are the days, really, where someone would leave university and only be a television reporter or only a newspaper reporter. One of the reasons why I managed to get into the international team at the Australian Broadcasting Corporation was because I was a video journalist early on in my career when I was a reporter in the Midwest in regional Western Australia. And that's because we didn't have the resources for a camera operator in Geraldton, so I had to learn myself if I was to do any sort of television content. So I taught myself, and that's what put me in a good position to be able to get the position I got as Southeast Asia correspondent in Bangkok. There are a number of these sorts of roles across the globe which require people to be a video journalist as well as a reporter. It's a difficult task, but if you can get those sorts of skills under your belt now, it'll make it much easier in the future and make you much more employable. So I suppose my advice would be, in this era of digital news being king, that potentially learning how to take stills photography would get you a long way when entering the workforce.